Hello everybody and welcome back. So today we're going to be doing my June roundup, and you guys know the drill. I'm going to be taking all of the new products I tested over the month and I'm going to separate them into 3 categories: my favorites, my likes, and my disappointments / unremarkable products. So before we get into today's video, I'd love for you to subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get started. My number 1 favorite product of the month has got to be the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. I use the shade Light Medium. This has been my most used product out of these all. I am so incredibly happy with this product. I'm wearing a bit of it today. I did layer the second step on top. I'll talk about that in just a second. But this is a tinted balm. It's very, very sheer, but it truly just enhances your skin in the most natural but effective way. You can build it up slightly once it's on. Here, I'll build it up a couple times so you can see the texture and color. This is its finish. It looks really, really glossy, but it doesn't feel sticky or tacky, and it does set down. I like to wear this alone most of the time, and it performs really well. It has good longevity. This is actually the product I wore all throughout Disneyland through the 4 days, and it still stuck around all day. It's truly amazing. One of my most favorite products, I think, to have ever launched. I am that excited about it. I even got my mom hooked on it. In the middle of the day, we went to the Sephora in downtown Disney and she picked one up. Yeah, fantastic product. So now talking about the Transforming Skin Perfector. I wanted to talk about this right after that one. I think I would actually throw this into my liked section. I like to go in with this time to time if I feel like it. It is a really fun and unique product. You get a translucent powder, a highlighter, and like this nice bronzer in one, and you swirl it all together to set the first product, or you could set your entire face. It is really nice, but I feel like you can overdo it very quickly. The highlighter in here is very potent, and it can look pretty metallic and texture enhancing if you go in with too much. So I like to really be careful. I tap my brush off a couple times before applying it to my face. I am wearing it today, and you can see it adds like a lot of luminosity to your skin. It does blur your skin, but that highlighter can contradict that if you go in with too much. So this one is nice to me. I like it, but I don't think it's going to ever become like a favorite of mine or a consistent product I turn to on the everyday. But this to me is a for sure must-have if you have very similar makeup preferences to me. It's one of the best. Next up, we have quite a few Danielle Myrick's products. I'll first talk about the Yummy Skin Blurring Balm Powder. So I actually prefer the universal shade, which is just see-through. There's no tint to it at all. It looks like it's white in here, but it's absolutely colorless. There, I just swatched it there. Yeah, colorless. It would work for literally every skin tone. It's not going to be like a translucent powder where it can look ashy on deeper skin tones. I prefer this one under my makeup as a primer because it truly does help keep my oil at bay. I think people with oilier complexions are going to love this. It's not like the most blurring product, but it does offer a little blur. I just like how it makes my base stay on even more, and it does have that upsolite, which encapsulates oil throughout the day, which is really cool, and it works. This is an incredible product to have during the summer. I was thinking about picking up another shade in the tinted version, but I just am not a fan of the way this looks as a skin tint, so I never picked it up. It's a bit too matte for me, and I just thought it dulled out my skin. I found it to be quite finicky, and I've watched a lot of reviews since I've done mine. Seems to be a lot of people's experience across the board, but I think if you have an oilier complexion, you would love the universal version. Another product from Danielle Myrick's that I fell in love with are the Twin Flames multichrome pigments. These are so fun to use. I like using them on top of looks or on their own. They're very impactful, and they have some very intense shifts, and they're super, super long wearing. Like once you swatch them, they're going to be on your hand for quite a while. I remember the first time I swatched them on my arm, and I had like residue of them for like a couple days, and I scrub and scrub and scrub with like exfoliation gloves, so I could not believe the longevity of these. I have 3 shades. So this first one here is Bay, which has like a green reflect with a pink shift, and this one has a very pink shift, which that's Passion. And the other shade is kind of like a lime green. You can't really see it with my lighting right now. And the last shade I have is Young Love, which has like a violet blue shift with a pink flip as well. Here, I'll go a little closer so you can see. They're very, very fun to look at. Is this putting you in a trance? I hope so, because it's put me in a trance. I really like them because they kind of have a see-through base, but then they have this super reflective shift, and it just adds so much fun to your looks. Really awesome for inner corner highlights as well if you just want to amp it up subtly. Other than that, they are incredible. They're not going to crease. The little glitter particles aren't going to fall on your cheeks throughout the day. They're super, super long wearing, and they lock down like crazy. And the last Danielle Myrick's product in this section are the neon color fixes. I am so happy I decided to purchase these. These have brought so much joy into my life. They're so fun to mix and match and just use on their own. They are the best neon pigments that I have come across this far in my career. They're very smooth. They don't go on patchy. They're very consistent, and they lock down really, really well. They are very similar to like the other color fixes in more natural shades, which is very difficult to find with neon shades. Some of my favorite color combos, if I want to mix my own shade, are these two to make more of a neon clementine, and you can also make kind of a neon peach mixing these two or with the brighter pink, and then you can make like a neon lime kind of close to my shirt here with these two. So fun to use. And if you're looking for really good brights, I think these are the way to go for sure. A similar product, but just duller in color, these are the NYX Ultimate Eye Paints. They came out with this for Pride Month, so it's like the rainbow colors, but they're a bit dulled down, you know, like they're a bit more pastel. These are very consistent as well. The only one that I found to get a little patchy is the yellow, which that's pretty common when it comes to yellow, but you can work around it. You just have to be a little bit more patient. But these are really nice as well. They're very good for the drugstore. I have been using them a ton. My favorite shades have been Calling All Allies, which is this nice kind of periwinkle blue, and Coming Out Fierce, which is this nice pink, which I used in one of my recent videos. I do wish that they were a bit thicker or just a little bit more pigmented, because I find that they can go on a bit sheerer than I would like, but you can build them up very easily and they're not going to get crumbly or flake on you. They're really, really nice consistency. They nailed it on this formula. I hope that they come out with more shades, because that would be awesome. It'd be really sick to see like a white and a black, just so you can kind of shift the values of these colors and just make everything a lot more versatile. I'm pretty sure these are limited edition, but if you can get your hands on them, if you're a colorful person, I highly recommend. Next up, I have a couple of Chanel products. This is the Les Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch. This is a really, really nice complexion product. I didn't think it's going to beat my love for the Rose Ink one. I don't think it does. I find that it stands off on its own. This one has a lot more coverage in comparison, which is nice because you do get less product in here, but you get like 3 times the coverage. To cover my whole face, I use, I think, a pump and a half, and it stretches everywhere. I really enjoy this consistency. It's super easy to apply, and you can apply it haphazardly and it's not going to pill up or get fussy. It's very fuss free. And I also really enjoy its finish. It feels very hydrating and it looks nice and hydrating, but it doesn't get too greasy or dewy looking throughout the day. Like, it stays put, and it has a very flexible formula. Like, it moves with you throughout the day. It never starts to clump up or get cakey in areas. It just keeps everything looking fresh. This one, like I mentioned, is super fuss free, which I find that the Rose Ink one can get a little fussy with certain techniques. Like, you can only really apply it with downward strokes. You can't go in with a damp sponge, because then it kind of just gets soaked up by the sponge. It doesn't really adhere to your face very nicely. It kind of rehydrates the product and it just goes away. Whereas this one, you can go over with a damp sponge and it's going to make your complexion look even more skin-like, and you can like do any kind of brush motions and it's going to look flawless. They did a really great job on this formula. The only thing that I don't like about it is its packaging. I think it kind of makes me uncomfortable looking at the product. It just looks like little eggs or something. It's not my favorite thing, but the product itself is really, really nice and fun to work with once you're actually using it. And the last product I have in my favorite section are the NARS bronzers that they brought back out. So I have 2 shades, Laguna 1, which would be my perfect winter shade, and Laguna 2, which is kind of my perfect summer shade. This is a very different formula compared to the Makeup by Mario product. I'll swatch them side by side. I'm going to be swatching Laguna too. It has a super nice slippy consistency. It's very easy to apply, but it has a nice matte finish and it stays put really, really well. It almost feels like a similar thing to the Huda Beauty Tan Tour, if you're familiar with that. That used to be one of my favorites a long, long time ago. It just has that nice kind of fuller coverage bronzer effect. So right here is the Makeup by Mario, and this is the NARS. Here, I'll try to shear that out a little bit more so you can see what it would look like on my cheek. So you can see very, very different finishes. So whatever you like more. They both have a place in my collection. I really, really like that formula. It's super blendable. With some matte, fuller coverage bronzers like this, sometimes they can look too much, but this one just really sinks into your skin. You have a lot of working time before it does set down and get thicker. But yeah, overall, really great bronzer. And I'm really happy they decided to bring them back with a lot more shades this time around. So that's it for my favorites. Now let's dive into my light category, which are all the products I got along with pretty well, and I think a majority of people would like them as well. I just have a few critiques about them. I might not find them to be the most unique, or I have a few things I want you guys to be wary of. I think I'm going to start off with this product. This is another Chanel product. It's their Water Fresh blush. This is really unique. It would have been in my favorites if it wasn't so freaking expensive. Although you do just need the tiniest amount for it to stretch a very long way. I'll show you right now. So I'm gonna take half pump. This is a pretty deep color as well. This is the only one I have. So it looks like that right out of the bottle. Then you start doing this. You want to blend it like this on your hand first, then work with a brush. You don't want to do this whole situation on your face because that could lift anything you have underneath of it, but you can see it goes a long way. I really like this blush because it almost acts like a cheek stain. I love how see-through it is, and it does really grip onto your cheeks, and it has a super interesting consistency. It just feels exactly like water, like you're blending out a watercolor on your cheek. Yeah, overall, the only complaint I have about this one is that it's super expensive, and I wish it was cheaper because I would like to expand my collection. Other than that, I think it's a really unique texture. It's fun to work with. I like the packaging of this one more instead of this one because it is frosted, so you don't get the goosebumps of the texture. But overall, it's a really fun experience, and the formula sticks around for a really long time. So it is a good product. I don't think it's one of those products that I would tell you to run out and go grab, but if you're very drawn to the formula and the way it looks or a color, I think you could go for it. But yeah, it's not one of my top favorites of life. So I have some more blushes I wanted to speak on. These are the Persona Bubble Blushes. I wanted to talk about them both at the same time. This is an amazing option for a cool pink blush. I prefer the cream version. I think it looks a lot more flattering, and they came up with a really good cream blush formula. I find this one to be a lot more dewy in comparison to a lot of other blush sticks. This one's a lot more dewy feeling, and it's not as waxy, which I enjoy. It feels just like a cream in a pot, if that makes any sense. It's not sticky or waxy. So here is the cream and the powder. I also prefer how this one sinks into the skin a bit more, looks a little bit more skin-like, whereas this one I find can look like it's standing off your cheeks a bit more because it's so light and powdery. I just like how this one looks more like one with everything once it's on. But it depends on your preference. That's the only difference in the two. Otherwise, they're both really cute powder pink blush options. They're in this section because I only gravitate towards these colors once in a while if it fits my makeup look, but it's never going to be, well, I'd never say never, but it's not going to be like my everyday go-to blush choice, you know? It just has to fit the vibe of everything else. So now I have a couple concealers to talk about. The first one is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter. I really enjoy this one. I think it could potentially get into my favorites over time. The only thing about it is that it's super full coverage, and sometimes I feel like it's a little much for me, and I find that my under eyes look a bit mask-like, and it looks like that no matter what foundation I'm wearing. I'm wearing it today, and I find that my under eyes are a bit bright. That could be because of the shade, but I find that it just adds like a complete masked appearance under there. It is a really interesting consistency though, because it is like a thicker gel formula, and it does kind of fill in fine lines, but it doesn't blur them. They do say that it's a blurring formula, but it just like fills instead of blurs, so it makes everything look smooth. It's very interesting. I feel like you need to use it to see what I mean. But overall, I had a very consistent experience with this, and although it does have that thicker consistency, it doesn't crease like crazy or look too thick under my eyes at all. It's very comfortable and lightweight for its consistency. It's different. It's a different concealer than I've ever tried. It's definitely unique in some senses, and sometimes I don't know if I can fully trust it yet, you know? I just have to get to know it a little bit more. And next up, I have the Regeneration Uplifting Creamy Concealer from Nabla. This is one of the concealers with the little sponge applicator. I love concealers like this because they always look really natural. This would have been in my favorites. I just find it to be very quick drying, so you have to work at one under eye at a time. That's the only reason why I haven't been reaching for this one every day, is because I feel like I'm going to mess up and I don't want to deal with that. Other than that, if you work at one under eye at a time, it's very, very pretty. It has a smoothing effect. It's kind of a sheerer product. It's very similar to, what is it? This guy from Maybelline. A very similar thing, but I find that this one has a bit more coverage and it feels a bit more hydrating in comparison to the Maybelline. I really like it. I feel like I've seen this formula before. I am going to use it for sure time to time, but I just wanted to mention that it does dry up really, really quickly. You don't have a lot of working time with this one, unfortunately. Next up, Cosmetics launched a powder bronzer. This is the Corselet Sculpting Powder Bronzer. I have the shade Slip. This is a bronzer that has kind of grown on me. I wasn't a fan of this pretty much at all when I first got it, just because Cosmetics usually brings out really unique products that have something different to them every time. They just have a lot of elevated formulas, and this one just felt kind of basic to me. It's just a powder bronzer. There's not much else to it, but it is a really good formula. The only complaint I have with this one is that it feels a bit powdery, so there's a lot of kickback once you dip your brush into it, but it does actually perform like a sculpting bronzer, which is kind of interesting. I used a little bit in the hollows just to enhance that area, and it kind of has like a cool toned effect to it, surprisingly, especially because it has more of a warm color. It's interesting. It's different. It's not becoming one of my new favorite products from Cosmetics anytime soon. It just feels like a normal powder bronzer. I don't think this would ever become one of my top recommended products from them, but it is good and it does work. And the color is nice. So yeah, it's just a little bit basic for me, and I don't really reach for simple powder bronzers like this much, but I just wanted to say that it does perform really nicely. Now let's talk about the Danielle Myrick's chromatic flakes. Anyways, you know, these little cool things. They're so beautiful. They enhance makeup like nothing else. They're super, super cool. They're very reflective. I love the way that they look. The only reason why they're in this section is because they're extremely uncomfortable to wear. It does offer like the coolest effect. So basically it's like wearing a really pretty uncomfortable bra, but when you take it off at the end of the day, it feels really good. You know, it's like one of those situations where you have to suffer to be cute, but oh my gosh, the effect is for sure worth the couple hours of being uncomfortable. I'll swatch a couple of the shades I have. I didn't think I was going to like these because they can get kind of scaly if you apply a lot of them, but I preferred the look of them sheared out, and they are more comfortable that way as well. But these just bring something different to your looks like nothing else. They're like little chopped up foils inside of this really long wearing gel. They're so reflective, and I love how see-through they are when the light's not hitting them, and then it's like kapow. So they elevate your funner looks like crazy, but they're super, super uncomfortable. So just wanted to warn you guys, they do last really well. They don't fall on your cheeks when you're wearing them. The gel is very, very strong and stiff. It doesn't feel crumbly. It just makes it feel like you're wearing like something uncomfortable on your lid. I don't know. That's all I can describe it as, but yeah, they are truly some of the coolest products to work with, without a doubt. And the last two products I have in this section are the Half Magic Beauty lip products that they launched. So I really enjoy the Mouth Cloud formula, the lipsticks themselves. I just haven't found like a shade I want to wear every day. They're definitely like funky colors. They have some blues and neon pinks and like just funkier colors. Definitely statement lips. The formula of these are really, really gorgeous. If you're familiar with the MAC Powder Kiss liquid lip colors, they're a very similar formula, just a bit thicker in consistency. But they blur out your lips, they kind of diffuse the look of lip lines, and they look like a matte liquid lip would, but they feel hydrating and comfortable on your mouth. The only reason why they're in this section is just because there isn't like an everyday color that I've been reaching for consistently. I really enjoy the concept of the lip liners. They're dual-ended and they have like a funkier side, like a more unexpected combination with its corresponding lip color, or like a more expected combination. The only problem I have with these is that they're a little bit thick for my liking, like just packaging wise, and I don't like how I can't sharpen these. They are retractable pencils, and usually with retractable lip liners, on the other end they come with this little device, this little sharpener, so you can sharpen your pencil, but you can't with this, so you always are kind of left with a dull lip liner. So that isn't the best, especially while working with such bold colors. You want to have a very perfected lip line when it comes to deeper colors, or else it looks like really half-assed applied. That's the only downside of this product for me, but otherwise the consistency and the formula of the lip liners are really nice. They kind of remind me of the M Cosmetics Soft Blur Velvet Lip Liner, where they have that kind of blurred look to them, so it matches the mouth clouds perfectly. This is one of the funner duos. It's Honestly Yes and Don't Be Confused. They have a lot of fun duos like that in this collection. They have like a blue and a purple one as well. Oh, also I wanted to say that I haven't found like my perfect lip liner color in these as well, so I haven't been reaching for them too much, but my favorite out of all of them for like an everyday color has been Hot Potato and Ballerino, that duo. I'll swatch some of the mouth clouds while I'm at it as well. I kind of talked about both of them in conjunction. I think my favorite out of all of them has got to be this neon pink one. I did do a swatch reel of every single color here, so if you want to see that, it's on my Instagram. This is the shade Invoice Attached. It's a very vibrant neon pink. I really enjoy how they kind of step out of everyone's comfort zone. They launched some unexpected products, which I feel quite excited about. These are the only products I've tried from the brand so far, but it's a pretty good introduction. Yeah, the formulas feel really, really high quality. Like there's a lot of thought put into them, and there's also a lot of fun put into them as well. Here, I swatched almost all of them. I was kind of having fun with it, but here are most of the mouth clouds. They look a lot more glossy when they're swatched on my hand, but when they're on your lips, it's exactly like that matte look. It's fun. This is a really fun brand. If you are very adventurous with your makeup, this is gonna be the brand for you for sure. Now let's move on to my last category, which are my disappointments, or the products I just wasn't wowed by. The first product which I wasn't wowed by is the Milk Makeup Pore Eclipse Mattifying Primer. So for me, this one was just okay. It does not come close to the Hydro Grip for me. This one, I love the packaging though. It's so snazzy. I love the glossy writing on here. It just reminds me of Kylo Ren, which I love. This is a really interesting formula and texture. I'll swatch it for you so you can see. It is like a matte cream, and it feels like a cream when you apply it, which I enjoy. It doesn't feel silicone-y at all, and it truly does just matte out your skin so much. You can see there's no gloss on that cream. Hopefully you can get an example of its texture. It does mattify your skin. I do see myself reaching for this time to time when I need my makeup to stay put and stay more matte throughout the day, but it doesn't really blur the way I would want. A product that I was expecting this one to beat was the Wet n Wild Impossible Primer. To me, these kind of feel similar, but I prefer the Wet n Wild formula a lot more. This one offers a lot more blurring action. It kind of fills in your pores without it being a silicone primer. It has a cooling effect, and it does matte out your skin as well. I just feel like this one just does a bit more for me compared to this one, but it's still an okay primer. It's not a product that I dislike and that I want to get rid of. It's just one that I was kind of let down by. A product that I didn't like though is the Nabla Angel Aura Plumping Serum Primer. This just did what a skincare product would with some shimmer in it. It's very similar to like the Glossier Future Dew, which I used to be a huge fan of, but I just find these products to be way too hydrating for me. It is pretty, but it just doesn't do much more than an actual serum would, and I don't like that kind of thing under my makeup. It just makes my skin too greasy feeling and oily feeling. But if you have dry skin, maybe this would be a better product for you. It's not for me. And to cap this video off, these are the NYX Shine Loud lip colors. I wanted to love these very much because they have a really cool concept to them. So you get a matte liquid lipstick that stays put like crazy, and then you have this lip gloss that feels like an oil that you layer on top, so it looks like a kind of like a latex lip. It's very, very glossy, very high pigment. The only problem is, for me, there's just not much versatility here. You can use the gloss side on its own for sure, but you can't use the opaque matte side on its own because it's far too sticky and it settles into your fine lines like crazy. They're really hard to apply. The first time I used them, I struggled a lot, and I showed the entire process. Some people got really, really mad at me. They're like, why didn't you research this product? Because I just felt like I didn't need to. It's a dual-ended lipstick. One side goes on first, the next goes on top. Like, I shouldn't have to do a big research on a lip product these days, you know? I think this formula would only work if you have very filled in lips, or if you have hardly any lip lines. Then I think it would work, but you have to sit there for a little bit for this to dry down, and you have to like kind of flatten out your lips. But then once you go normal, your lip lines are very enhanced and the product starts to settle in there. Overall, it's just a very sticky, unflattering formula, and I'd prefer just to go in with a normal liquid lipstick and a normal gloss. This just missed the mark for me entirely. And if you love any of the products that I disliked, I'm happy that they worked for you. Products work differently for everyone. And there we have it. That wraps up my June roundup. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Also, let me know if you fell in love with any products over the month of June, and what were they? I'm very nosy. Also, if you have any videos you'd like to see from me over the month of July, that would be very, very helpful. You can comment those down below. But that's going to be it for me today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy today's video, please give it a like. It would help me out very much over here. I'll also make sure to link all of these products in the description down below, so feel free to check that out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys!